What's going on, my GGs, my go-getters? Thanks for tuning in to It Is What It Is podcast with me, Daisy. I just want to talk about a real huge topic. Now, this topic right here, definitely everybody has stories about. Everyone has their own opinions. People have probably never been there before and want to know about it. Or, like, you went there? What? You went there? Yes, I went there. Let's get started. The topic of the day is jail time. Jail time. Right. I want to talk about the three different times I've ever been involuntarily held, and I didn't want to be, of course. And I also want to talk about what everybody else has went through, like some examples I've heard of, or my experience throughout the times I've been in, or at the end of the day, just kind of talk to you guys about why this is a big topic. So let's start with why am I talking about jail time? Why not anything else? Today we want to talk about jail times because unfortunately in this society it's more people locked up than free, especially Black people. Unfortunately, with that being the case, it almost seems unfair because there's a lot of people that are locked up that don't deserve to be, or innocent people, children, that kind of situation. People with kids, pregnant, in jail or in prison. I have never been in prison, so that's why I said jail time. I have always been scared as hell of jail. I don't know what it is, but I always thought that because men got raped or every time I seen stories or TV, men was in there getting raped. And I was scared. I'm a female around females, but I'm like, how else can they rape me? They would probably have to get a broomstick and like or something crazy. I don't know. But I'm saying that to say that I was actually scared, thinking that the worst was going to come for me if I ever went to jail. So I always thought jail was the worst place in the world, other than hell, because hell is still on earth. But jail, ooh, baby. Let me tell you something about jail time, okay? First of all, I didn't know that you can go to jail for just being there. If somebody's standing there and everybody get locked up, sometimes in this case, if you're standing there, you're gonna get in jail too. Why? It's because they mix witnesses with the situation until they know what's going on. So they will detain you until they find out, oh yeah, you had nothing to do with it. We'll let you go. It don't matter. You could be pregnant, you could have just had a baby, you could be, oh my God, the sweetest person in the world, never been in trouble, and all of a sudden you hang around that one mother or that one party of people and get yourself caught up. So let's go ahead and get into it. The first time I've ever been locked up, man. I'm gonna tap into me before I say what happened. So I'm the type of person, no, I don't deal with getting locked up. I don't go through situations of feeling like if I do this, I know I'm gonna go to jail. Like, I don't do stuff like that. However, I realize that you can simply just not have a seatbelt on, get pulled over, and they can be like, oh, you don't have a seatbelt on. And you're like, well, sir, come on, man. Like, it's a seatbelt. And just because you talked, just because you had something to say, they could be like, you know what, miss, it looks like yeah, we're going to take you in because obviously, simple. As a matter of fact, I almost want to tell you, because I have 3 times I've been detained. And the first time was the worst. The second time was nothing. The third time was the second worst. So I'm going to talk about the not so crazy one, which was not having insurance. Let me tell you. So I have been driving my green, beautiful Chevy. It was so cute. I'm talking about leather seats, cream interior, rooftop off, all that. Sexy. Okay. And I remember I was on the infamous Delk Road. If you were in Marietta, Cobb County, you know Delk Road. And Delk Road is a sister to Franklin Road. And that's the first place I ever got locked up, Franklin Road. So let's tap back into the second time I got locked up, which is Delk Road. I just want you to know, in the process of me going to jail, I was unaware that this is something that could happen. I never knew that until I got locked up. I was driving at 2 a.m. to McDonald's. See, these are the days when things were open. It was like 2015. Walmart was 24 hours. Like everything was just regular. Duck Road was always popping, so it never stopped. I'm just oblivious to how Duck Road is. And I'm, flying down the street, doing me, whatever. But one day I go to McDonald's at 2 in the morning, grab me what I wanted. And I promise you, I went past, I was about to go towards Franklin Road and make a left to go to Cobb Parkway off of Franklin Road. And I'm talking about as soon as I hit that light, boop, 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 I'm like, looking around, I'm like, oh my God, I don't, what? And I had somebody with me. Now, the person who was with me is on parole. Like, they were going to be messed up if they were driving. They would have been messed up if whatever they found was something wrong, right? So, thank God it was just a little store run that person who I was riding with didn't have anything on him to make it seem like we had to hide or be nervous about. I wasn't nervous. I didn't know what could happen. So I was like, well, let me go ahead and just pull over, obviously, because the lights are on. And he says he never even talked to the person on the right. The person on the right is the one that is in trouble already, but they never questioned him. They came over to me and said, ma'am, do you know why I pulled you over? I said, no, actually, I don't. Like, what's going on? He was like, well, you don't have insurance. I was like, oh, man, yes, sir, I know. I haven't had insurance, but I plan on buying it. It was just so expensive. It was just really expensive. He said, oh, well, if it's expensive, what you driving for? I said, well, I didn't realize that I could get locked up or in trouble for it. I just knew that not having it wasn't good because if I got in a car accident, I wouldn't be covered, or the other person would have to figure it out with their insurance to be covered, or I would have to come out of pocket. Okay. And he was like, well, no, ma'am. Without having insurance, you're not able to drive. You can't drive. And I said, oh, I'm sorry. I thought that was emissions. He said, no, the car won't be able to be on the road, but you can't drive without insurance on this vehicle. I said, oh my God, I'm so sorry, sir. He said, listen, it happens to the best of us. And took my license, went back, and I'm sitting here like, and then the guy next to me was like, hey, we got that tucked up under the thing. And I was like, so I hurried up and grabbed what was in the tuck, and I tucked it for real. So he was like, do you have anything on you? I was like, no. He said, step out of the vehicle because it smells like it do. I'm like, I don't have anything. But I did. I tucked it and I didn't know, bro. I was just like, we got this. And he said, ma'am, do you have anything on you? Are you sure? Because I smell something in this vehicle. And I said, sir, I don't have anything on me. And he was like, okay. So he searched the car, nothing. He said, and I can't search you. So I'm going to have a woman come out here and search you. I was like, oh my God. So I'm standing there. And then all of a sudden he was just like, oh, now we got to go meet her. So he made me get in handcuffs, get in the back of this truck before I could even get searched or anything or be told anything, and left my car there with the person, and they towed the vehicle. They didn't let him drive because he couldn't, but he had to walk where he was going. They towed the vehicle, and they took me to the police officer who was up the street on Cobb Parkway, and like on the side of the road, paused, got me out of the car and said, hey, ma'am, we need you to search this woman. And I said, ma'am, before you even search me, here. And I gave it to her, and she was like, thank you. I said, I'm sorry. I was just really scared. And she was like, is it yours? I said, yeah. And then she was like, all right, well, miss, listen, we're just going to have to take you in, for no insurance. That's a no-go in Georgia State. I said, I never knew this, but yes, ma'am, whatever case may be. I literally was in there overnight, and then the person who was next to me ended up bailing me out and helped me get my car out of the pound. Thank God. And I just felt so embarrassed because, like, I never knew I could get locked up for no insurance. I didn't know that. So I just want to say, if you have ever drove around without insurance, it is facts. You could be the best person in the world. You could be 100 years old, just starting out driving, 18, and you get pulled over with no insurance, they can lock you up for that. Take your car and everything. So with the grace of God, I was able to come out the next day. It was all paid for. Everything was fine. Like, it was just, I just took my lesson as what it was and got insurance. Ugh, that was the worst. So I just want to say, to add to that again, anybody who ever drives, please drive with insurance. If you do not have insurance, realize that you are up against getting locked up for it. Not a fine, not a ticket, not nothing but jail time. Like, that sucks, but it's true. So we're going to skip from jumping to number 3, which is one of the worst times. We're going to jump to the first time I ever got locked up. Now, the reason why I didn't want to talk about the third one, which is following the second one, is because the second one was really touchy to me, and it's going to blow your mind. Like, it's going to blow your mind what happened to me, bro. This time is going to blow your mind too. However, it's something about it to me that touches a little deeper, because I was locked up the first time for not snitching. Being those people around people doing these things, and because I was there and they saw me there involved, I was locked up for just being there. And they felt like I knew everything. They felt like they can get something out of me. I don't know. But because I wasn't snitching and I wasn't budging, I had jail time. Let's get into it. So the very first time I ever got locked up, I was in a very, very sticky situation, because I was in a situationship with my child's father. My child's father was, doing his thing on Franklin Road real hard. And if you don't know me, if you don't know him, now you do. Let me just explain. If you knew who our dog was, Black, our pit bull on a chain, walking up and down the street any times of the night, that was us. And anybody ever came to Franklin Road and Woodlands Park, which used to be called Las Colinas, that's where we were. Now, to these days, it's all burnt down and all that, and it's a big soccer field. So all my memories from that, I can't even see it. I don't even want to see it. I'm straight. It was the worst time of my life. Let me tell you why. I had my son May 6, 2014. I got locked up May 28th, 2014. Like 2 weeks later, I got locked up. So not only am I breastfeeding, not only am I in postpartum, not only am I just a fresh mom for the first time, I'm getting locked up. So let me just say this, because I already let you know that we were one of those on the road that was making money. I would just say, just trying to keep it disclosed, of not giving too much information like that, but we were making some money. And at the time when we were making money, we had people coming in. Like, for example, my child's father, let me just call him G. When G was making his money, he started to recruit people in to make more money, or so he didn't have to work so much, right? Mind you, while he's doing that, I'm going to work. Like, I'm pregnant working. I'm also gave birth and kept working. I was working. So I would get up, go to the bus stop, get off the bus, go to work, come home, off the bus, go home, and then that's where I'm at, dealing with whatever was to come with. So I had no parts, but because I was there, I had parts. Now that we are all caught up, the fact that I was working, even though we were also making money at home, doing what he was doing, he started recruiting people. So not only did we have him, we had a do boy. A do boy is somebody who goes out and runs the service and brings back the funds. And he gets a cut for running and doing the service. So the person like G isn't getting caught doing the service, right? And I used to find that very kind of scary, because, that's still traffic no matter what. The people are watching. So, and he was younger. So at the end of the day, this was like one of his first jobs, and his first job was being a runner. and he recruited someone else. So now we had two people, and there was two dudes. So we got two dudes that are always at our house every single day because they're runners. Then one day I came home from work and there was two females in the house and the two dudes and G, of course my dogs. But I was confused why they were there until I realized that they were there for service too, if you know what I mean. Yeah. And I was upset about that because I'm like, I'm the woman of the house. I shouldn't, what is this, a trap house? Like, I felt like a trap queen at this point, and it really sucked because I didn't want no parts. However, the money was coming in. And one day it just kept growing and growing. People kept coming in and out. I'm talking about every day we had music going. It was just like he started getting comfortable to the point where we were getting noticed. There was one guy in particular, and we call him New York because that's what we called him. But he came and he was like, man, I get this from here. I get this from there. I make bands. What's up? And he was like, what's up? G was like, what's up? And I'm like, oh man. So now that this man had nowhere to go, he in our house. Now it's two Du Bois, New York, two females, me, my pregnant self, G, and the dogs. And we ended up having two roommates. That's a lot of people in the house. Do you understand what I'm saying here? Okay. The two roommates eventually started doing the same thing. So they all was in there doing the da 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 da. And it started to get hot, like outside. So summertime starting to come, boom, I have my baby, boom. All of a sudden, when I had my baby, I was thinking like, everything was going to be great because now that he's here, maybe people will see that things are going to be different in this house. No, it was still the same. I'm walking around with this baby, people walking in or whatever. And I told him, I said, listen, this got to stop because my son. And he slowed down the process. So the dude, New York, he ended up leaving. The two Du Bois, one of them stopped being there and one of them stayed. Our roommate, he ended up leaving, so which left one roommate. And then, now mind you, we didn't even need a roommate because rent was $600. So what you need a roommate for? And come on, like I don't know why. I was there. I don't. I really, really, really wish that I listened to my mom and stayed where I was and never got an apartment trying to move out fast and, yeah. Anyway, because I was slick fresh out of high school. 2014, I graduated 2012. So I was fresh. Now, the problem with the fact that I just had my son, it was like I was the only one I felt like that was maturing. I'm like, yo, like this gotta chill. We gotta, and it got worse. So when New York left, he actually left on a bad note because he saw that someone took from him. I don't know who, but someone took from him and he felt betrayed or something and he took off. So one day when I was alone with my son, I was breastfeeding or whatever, I had like this big boom at the door, then another boom at the door. I was like, whoa, what the heck? And then, so we have the lock on the door, then the top lock. So the top lock was on, but it was like a chain. So they bust the door open, but they didn't bust the chain. So the chain was there and they were like, what? And my dog started barking at them and they left. The person who it was New York. And I said, wow, like this man really tried to come for us and bust the door down and do what he wanted to do and didn't work. Now, told you I had my son already, so I'm holding my son when this is happening. I'm freaking out. I'm calling my child's dad like, oh, rah. He was like, what? All right, no worries. I'll be home soon. And came home and was like, what happened? What's going on? Da, da, da. And then he was just like, oh, all right, we got this. So this was maybe like a Monday. So on the 28th of May was the day of Lil Chris's death. It was when he was shot in the apartments on the same road, which is Franklin Road. And I know this story so damn well that it sucked when I didn't say anything. I didn't snitch on anybody. However, I'm kind of getting a little emotional saying this because at the end of the day, this person, it was... Let me get into it. So this is what happened. I just gave you the backstory of what I was already dealing with and where this transpired. So on the 28th of May, apparently there was a big shootout at this party, and little Chris was shot. Some other people were shot but didn't die. Chris died, unfortunately. And when I was in the, I think I was in the room when they all come busting in. So it was my child's dad, his homie, his brother, the dude boy, and that was it. They come running in the house and was like, whoa, what do we do? What do we do? And I'm like, what the freak? And then my child's dad come in the room, close the door, and says, I gotta tell you. I just gotta tell you. I was like, what's up? He said, hey, what's his name? Shot somebody. I was like, what? Who? He said, he did. I'm like, nigga, what the fuck? Like, what the hell? What are y'all doing in here? Why did y'all run here? Like, that was dumb. He was like, yeah, man, we didn't know what to do, so we trying to figure out where to stash this at. So tell me how. They stashed it all right. I'm gonna tell you where they stashed it later. So I know who did it. I know what happened. I just didn't say anything. So the 29th passed, then the 30th, then the 31st. 31st popped up. And it's me, my son, G, the dude boy, the 2 prostitutes, and the roommate. So all of these people were sitting on our big sectional couch in the living room, all of us. And I was sitting on the floor breastfeeding in front of the TV. I was the only one sitting on the floor. Now, we were watching Kevin Hart, Laugh Now, Cry Later, or something he had. And it was just playing. Everything was fine. Everybody was laughing. It was dark in the house. Cool. And all of a sudden, do. Everybody was like, do. G got up and went to the peephole, and he was like, it's the police. And we was all like, and he was like, hey, can you let us in? This nigga said sure and opened up the door, and they pushed him over to the side and just started going in. First of all, it wasn't just it was 7 of them with AKs running in, say, sit down, get up, don't move, just running in, running through everything. They first of all, this, as I'm watching this, I said, wow, we were snitched on. You want to know how I know? And I wasn't even thinking about the little Chris situation. I wasn't thinking about, I don't even want to say it like that. I wasn't thinking about little Chris passing that day. I wasn't thinking about the whole shooting. I kind of forgot about it because, again, I was not involved. I don't have any parts of something that I don't know nothing about at the end of the day, for real. And they went immediately to every single hiding place we have, which lets me know someone who's either were there or was there at one point snitched on us and told them where everything was. They went to the dishwasher instantly. They went to they went to the back room, which is the roommate's room, up in the closet, in the luggage. How did you know? They went into our room. I had what's it called? Those formula cans stacked up in like a triangle pyramid on my dresser. And they were empty, but they had stuff in it. They had money in it, all kinds of stuff in it. And they gotten all of that. Like, it was like, whoa. So finally I was like, hey, do y'all have a search warrant? They was like, oh, we can get one. Everybody stop. We can get one. I was like, so they say, everybody sit down on the couch, took all of our phones and said, and it took like maybe 25 minutes and we got a search warrant, and they was just like, all right, now that we got this search warrant, let's go. And they looked at me and I'm like, go where? I'm breastfeeding. He was like, ma'am, yeah, you got to come with us. Do you have anybody to keep your child? Because all of y'all going to jail. I was like, listen, sir, it's 2 a.m. I don't know what's going on. Nobody's my child. And all of a sudden at this point, I hear my dogs barking. They're in a cage. They're barking and barking. And then he was like, shut them up. I was like, oh my God. So I had my son still, and I'm walking over to the cage, and I'm like, I said, it's okay. So I let them out and put them in the bathroom. They said, put them in the bathroom so we could search your room. As I'm putting them in the bathroom, they're so aggressive that they were like, they saw the police and was just, because they were protective dogs. They weren't like aggressive towards kids or anything like on that nature. They were just aggressive when they saw aggression. They were like that. And when I had them in the bathroom, I had two. I ended up having two at the time. I had black and I had Macon. They were two, both the same black and white dogs. It was weird. With the little white chest, all black. Yeah. And I remember putting them in the bathroom and closing the door, and they were just in there tripping, in there tripping, in there tripping, in there tripping. And I come outside, and they were like, "Do you have anybody to keep your son?" And I said, "I don't know, sir. I don't know." And then I was like, "Bump it, man." I said, "Let me see my phone, please, because y'all took my phone. I can't call nobody." So they let me call my mom. My mom called me like, "Oh my God," answered and everything, came and got my son at 2 a.m. And they had me handcuffed, and I'm like leaking breast milk as I'm walking to the police car, just leaking. It was just like, all you saw was just stains like this. Just, and I wasn't even crying. I was just walking back like, Got into the police car. I got all the way to the station. And when I tell you, as soon as they got me there, they got me to the station and they was like, "Oh, well, as a matter of fact, now that we have you here, we're just going to hold you for a second before we take you to jail." I said, "Jail? What did I didn't even do anything." He said, "Yes, you did. Yes, you did. You were there." I was like, "Where?" He was like, "You were at that party. You were the one out there with the braids. I got you on video." I said, "Show it to me, sir, because I don't know what you're talking about." He said, and sorry. Whew. Try not to cry on camera, but so he slammed a picture of Lil Chris in my face and said, "Do you know who this is?" I said, "No. I never knew who Chris was. Never." And he said, "He died that night and you were there, and I know you were there." I was like, "No, I wasn't, sir." I'm sitting here like, "No." And at the end of the day, I was so scared. I was so shocked at this picture in my face. And just the situation overall, because I've never been to jail, never wanted to go there. And literally, when I tell you, he interrogated me so bad thinking that I was there. I said, "Sir, show me. I've never been there." He was just like, "You know what? I'm done here. I'm done." I'm like, "All right." I was there from 2:30 until 7 in the morning, shouty. 7 in the morning, they put me in the back of a big ass box ass police truck. I was in the front, but there was a big ass truck in the back, like trunk. And when I got in there, I just started crying. Like, I was just like, "Ah, I hate this. Da, da, da." And then all of a sudden I hear do, 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 do in the back. Ooh, ooh, sorry. And in the back, I heard G say, "It's me, it's us, just chill, Z, it's chill." I was like, "Huh?" And it was G, his brother, the other, like the dude boy, the guy who actually did it. Fuck, man. The guy who actually did it and the guy that was accused. And I don't even want to say no names, because if you know this story, then you know who was accused. He didn't do that shit, bro. Like, God, like that was painful to. Let me explain. Like, let me just keep going. So when when I calmed down, because I heard that they were back there, we were all chained. Like, I was chained here, chain was coming down to my feet. So I'm like walking with my clothes on, regular walking in. They was walking in. And when I got in, we all got checked in, but then there was this room which is called intake, where you can have like seats that you can sit down. And then there was stalls on the side, and then there was phones on the other side of the wall. Then TVs, right? All right, so instead of us sitting down getting a phone call or anything, me, G, his brother, and the dude that was accused, the dude that actually did it, was all in individual cell holdings. Like, we didn't get a phone call, nothing. And when I looked through the glass window, that's all I had. Was all I saw on my mama. The only thing that was in my room was white. That was it. It was a stone bench, no armrest, no nothing. It was just big bright ass white light, no mirror, no nothing. That's it. Whew. And when I looked through the window, all I saw was the person who was accused on the phone. Like, I didn't, that was my homie. I didn't do that, man. I don't think I did that. I don't did that. And was just crying like, he didn't do that shit, bro. So now I'm realizing I'm actually going to jail. They took my mug shot. I was crying, so I looked ugly as hell. And then, you know, they got this big ass 3X blue suit on. And I wore it backwards because it was so big. It was so big that the back was longer than the front. So I turned it around because I was leaking breast milk in the suit too. Like, shit was just really not cool. So I'm walking through like, and I would like tuck my shirt under so it would kind of give me like a bra or something. That's why I turned it around. So as I'm walking through, you know, going to my little pod or whatever, I went to the little place I was going. It was like maybe 100 women. And when I got in there, you know, I immediately was shocked that it wasn't what I thought it was. Like, I thought it was going to be a whole bunch of jail cells, but I realized that if you're in jail for a long period of time, you will get there, which is called, it's called, I don't really know what it's called. I forgot. Population. That's what it's called. I didn't go to population. I was just in the part where I had to wait for my court date. Then I went to population. So I was in jail. And when I was in jail, let me tell you, it was actually not that bad. Like, I thought I was going to get raped. Nothing happened. However, when I got in there, I saw some people I recognized, you know, from a long time ago. And she was like, oh my God, girl, what? And tell me how some of these people, they were in there because they were stealing from Victoria's Secret. They were just like theft. I'm talking about trespassing. It wasn't nothing crazy. And then I met someone else and she was like, I went through the same thing you went through. The only difference is they had a tank on my ass. I said, a tank? She said, yeah, like they had a tank drive through my front door and break the whole entire front of my house down just so they can raid my house. And she looked crazy too. I ain't gonna lie, like not crazy, but like she had tats everywhere. Like she looked like she was about that life. So I was like, and she was like, yeah, you know, and I'm taking the time because, you know, my man, he got stuff going on. So I just took the time. I'm like, damn, like you a real one, a rider or whatever they say. But low key, I'm like, so am I. Because I straight up didn't snitch. And I feel like, in low key, I feel like I should have in a way. Because he wasn't shit. Look at me. I'm not with him now because he ain't shit. Okay? Well, with me not being a snitch, this is where it got me. So, you know, as I'm in here, I was in there for 11 days, I think. If I'm not mistaken, I think I was in there for like 11 days. And every day it was hard. Every day was hard. I was checking on my son. My mom was calling me, checking on me. And all I remember was every time we had food coming in, that chow time, I couldn't stand getting up. I couldn't stand that shit, bro. And it was so cold in there that I was so dry. I had dry patches and stuff, all kind. I was just so dry because I showered every day. And the girl who I was bunking with, she was like, dang, you cool. I was like, why said this shit? Because you don't stink. You shower. Some people come here don't act like they ain't got to shower all of a sudden. I was like, I wonder why. Like, maybe they scared to get raped too. I don't know. But hygiene is a must. You got me bent. So I remember when I would get the food, I would trade. So I would trade my juices for pretzels. I would have hella pretzels. I always had pretzels and I think it was like some other kind of like crackers or something they gave us. Like I always had snacks. I never had any of that shit. I would always trade my food. So I was trading my food for a scrunchie. I traded my food for soap. I traded my food for, what is it? What is the thing called? Like an extra shirt. I traded my like a shirt to make into a bra. I traded my food for a blanket. Like it was a lot. So the final thing that I remember doing when I was in there was I had my name on the list. So the last time I was called, they had me as a nickname on the list now. At first it was Z. Then I put Z. Then they was like, who the hell is that? And then they was like, oh, that's her. And they scratched it out and put Lil Dread. I had braids, so they must have been that damn bad if they thought it was dreads. I don't know. But I just said whatever. I ran with it because I ain't want to fight for no reason. So when I got that call, my mom was like, why are you still in there? I was like, I don't know. She was like, you're bailed out. I was like, crying and happy on the phone. It was crazy. And then all of a sudden, like maybe 3 hours later, Tate, I was like, and then the lady above me was like, can I have your stuff? I was like, hell yeah, girl. I gave her everything. I lifted up my pillow. I had hella pretzels, all kind of shit. A trick real quick. I learned in jail, when you don't have deodorant, of course, you use your soap. You use your soap, and then when it dries up, you sit there and go like this with it until you feel like, all right, yeah, that's what I did. So I found out using dry soap in jail was the best deodorant I could come up with without commentary. So I'll never forget the look on my mom's face. You know, when I came out of there and I walked up and she was walking to me and I seen her, I started running and she started running to me and crying and hugging me. Oh my God, no, don't do that ever again, please. And I was just like, oh my God, I won't, I promise. Girl, when I got home to my son, I held him so tight. I was like, I'm so sorry, I'm sorry. And then come to find out, when I got out, G was already out. He was already out. And tell me how he got out, because he bailed himself out. Not me. He bailed himself out. My brother, I think my brother, my mom, my dad, I think all came together and got me out. And I had the highest charges. And I had 2 felonies. Everybody only had 1. I had 2 felonies because one was for what they came and found, and because I was also taking prescriptions because I just had a child. So they were looking at it like I had drugs and I didn't. So I don't do drugs. So anyway, but those 2 charges, and I was flight risk because I wasn't even born in Georgia. So my bond was higher than everybody else's. And it was just crazy to see that, you know, I was out of there. Shout out to my family, you know, for helping me and loving on me, supporting me through this journey I had to deal with. Like, I had to go through this in order to know this is not my life. This is not me. And when I got out, I'm talking about, I went to court and G took the charges. He said she had nothing to do with it and dropped the charges, and I was dismissed. So I had no record, no felony record, no nothing. However, of course, my mugshot was never going to go away, apparently, even when I requested for it to be away. So I still see it's there. I'm just not going to trip no more. F it. But yeah, I got locked up for not snitching. Meanwhile, the person who was accused stayed in jail for 10 years for it. And you want to know why? It was because they found out who really did it 10 years later. I think that's just my theory, because if anybody commits murder, I don't think they would get 10 years. I think they deserve more. And in this case, that person who was supposed to go to jail wasn't. He got bonded out too, right along with us, for the same stupid charges of what it was, and they were nothing like murder. So when I, once we, got our life together, we just moved on. Everybody just moved on. And I realized that, after that moment, I never wanted to tap into that life again. So when I got locked up the second time with something on me, I just was hiding it. Just, I thought I was gonna get away with it. But I confessed because I didn't want it to be worse. I've been locked up before, so I was scared. However, I snitched on myself. So at the end of the day, I didn't even snitch on the dude that was in the seat with me, because it really was his stuff. But I took it because I didn't want him to get in trouble, So again, I was riding or whatever. Never again. And shout out to, RIP to little Chris, my condolences to your family and the loved ones that did lose you. I will never forget your name. I will never forget the situation. And to the person who was accused, may God bless you, may God bless you in this moment, or in that moment or moving forward, because you really did not deserve that. Whether you were in part, whether you did, were going to do something, the fact that you actually didn't do it, and I know you didn't, I'm sorry that you had to deal with that, bro. And I'm sorry that I didn't tell the truth. I'm very sorry. And I'm glad that I was able to speak with you. If you happen to come across this video, I'm glad that we spoke, because I wanted you to know and the people close to you that I knew it wasn't you. And he just said, hey, life goes on. I did my time. It is what it is. And I said, okay. And crazy enough, when I got on the bus one day, later on in life, I saw the person who did it. And when he got on the bus, he looked like he saw a ghost. And I'm looking at him like, and we didn't speak. But he knew I knew. And he knew I knew. And he was just like, "Sup, Z?" I was like, he was like, "Hey," walked around me, went and sat in the back. He knew what was up. So I'll just never forget that. So jail time was one thing for me. That shit was crazy. Now, the third reason I got locked up, that shit was... And it was crazy because it was really all about my son. The next podcast I talk about is going to be about my son, and I want y'all to hear me out. But yeah, so the third time I got locked up was I had a court date. And this court date was for me to see and determine if my son is able to come and stay with me for a couple of days, or I can see him without supervision. It was just so... That story is different. I'm telling you, we're going to get there. But I'm telling you, this was the last court date and the last time I ever talked to my son for real, like ever wanted to. I was like, at this point, it wasn't that I didn't want to talk to him. It was what was involved with him. It had nothing to do with my son. I love my son to death. And I never left you. If you ever watch this, I want you to know that I did this and I went through all of this because I love you. And because I want you in my life. I wanted to be in yours. I never wanted this to happen. So, my child's father again, G. I'm in court with him and his wife now. I didn't want to say nothing wrong because she is his wife now. So, at the time, she wasn't. She was just a girlfriend. So I felt like all of her energy, her being there, anything just kind of didn't matter because she's not tied in this party of the court at all. However, I realized because she's not a part of the party, she could kind of say whatever she wants to say. Only thing that she can't do is say something while someone is talking and get kicked out. That's it. She won't get fined. She won't get jail time, nothing. She's there. She's a witness. So as I am listening to the judge sit here and say, okay, after 7 consecutive court dates, we're finally here to see what we're going to do about getting you closer to your son. I'm like, okay, And I've went through everything. I'm talking about I had defects come over my house, see how I was living. It was like, I would go to visitations. I would fly from Florida to come here once a month to see him. I did virtual because it was COVID. I did all that. I did everything. I sent him gifts. I gave him gifts on his birthday, whatever I could. Money, bought him a phone. Like, I was there as much as I could from a distance, okay? The last court date. So the judge says, okay, we're going to speak to y'all guardian litem to see what the update is. The guardian litem had the nerve to come out of her mouth and say, she is not ready. She is not prepared for her son. She has been late multiple times to visits. She has never did anything up to par when she was supposed to. And when I tell y'all, let me tell you something. This isn't the first time they've done this to me, but they do this to get my reaction. And every single court date, I never overreacted. Never. Even when she sat there and was like, and this bitch always got a da-da, and she, letting the judge let her speak for 40 minutes. All about me, ain't nothing to do with my son. Nothing. Right? Meanwhile, G, he sits there and says, oh man, I think they need more time. She's not ready. She's not ready. What do you mean? You ain't gonna tell me if I'm ready or not. What? If anything, it's about my son. Is he ready? If he's ready, then what are you talking about? He's not even here to defend himself. So that sucked. However, I'm listening to this. They even pulled up a video of me cussing out Cobb County on live because I hated the government for trying me so hard, putting me in situations where they just telling me I can't have my son because why? Why? You don't even know why. All of these people who sent in emails about how a good parent I am, I have a living daughter who's a great example of how good of a parent I am. And you telling me that I can't have my son because you saying I can't? Why though? Okay. And I'm sitting here listening to all this bull crap come out of the guardian liner's mouth, the judge, the girlfriend at the time, Angie. And guess what? It's my turn. And I promise you, I said, listen, Your Honor, I am here for my son. I am trying to get through this so that way I can just have my son, even if it's 2 days out the week. I don't care. I want my son in my life. I want to be in his life. And it sucks because as I'm sitting here, all she gets to do is talk crap, but she's not even talking about my son. She said, cut me off. And she said, I can do what I want to do. You're not here. And I was like, I'm not talking to you. I'm talking. And the judge was like, all right. And I said, sir, I'm just trying to say, I said, all right. And I said, all right. And then she said something anyway. She said, Your Honor, I just want to say da da da. And she said something again. And I was just like, I said, see, it's exactly what I'm trying to say. And he was just like, all right. And I said, oh my gosh. And he said to the police officer, that's exactly how it went. On God. And I never yelled. I said, sir, I'm like concerned. I'm like, sir, she's the one that told the police officer to stand up. And the police officer walked over to me and said, stand up. You're under arrest. What? I stood up and was like, wow. I said, this is what all y'all wanted to see. I said, you, and you. Y'all all wanted to see this out of me. It's cool. And then when I got to the, he was walking me in handcuffs and walked me over to the door and pushed me to the door. And I said, sir, that's not necessary. I said, man, see, this is what y'all want to see. This is what y'all want to see. Man, I can't stand this, bro. And he opened the door, pushed me out, went down the elevator, and I was quiet. I just said that one part. This is what y'all want to see. And they pushed me through the door, closed the door. You couldn't hear nothing else. I didn't hear myself. I was done talking. I was pissed. I get downstairs, and I'll never forget what I had on. I had on a black shirt, green pants, army green pants, and my black Air Maxes. And I go downstairs. They're telling me, take my shoestrings out, take all my stuff. They searched me, all that. Put me in the holding cell and said, okay, now mind you, this is a court date. This is a court date that I had to go to determine if I'm going to be able to see my son or not more. That's it. And I was being told, no, you're not. You're not ready. What the fuck? I have been ready. Okay. I have been showing proof. I have been going. I have never stopped for my son. I moved to Georgia for my son. What do you mean? Okay. So I go over to, So I go over to the holding cell, and they got me sitting there, and I'm chilling. I'm just like, oh, this just sucks, the devil. And I'm praying. I'm like, bro, this is just not it. It's not it. And the police officer comes over there and knocks on the door and says, hey, did you want to make a phone call? I was like, yeah, because I don't know how, I see what time it is. I have to get my daughter soon. So I called my mom, called my brother. As a matter of fact, I think I called my brother because he was the only one that was living in Georgia at the time. And I said, bro, I need you to help me. And he understood the program, and he helped me with getting Rihanna from, it's possible you might need to get Rihanna from school. So I went back into the holding cell, and then I was in there for maybe 40 minutes. I'm sitting there like, oh my God, bro, what the hell's going on? And the police officer comes up to me and says, hey, I just want to let you know that the judge said that you will be held into contempt for court for 30 days. I looked at that officer and was like, and I just had immediate tears. I just couldn't stop. It was just like, and I was like, what? And I just started screaming. I'm talking about spazzing. Get me out of here. Y'all crazy. All that. And I know this sounds crazy, but I'm just going to keep it a buck, bro. There was nothing in the cell with me other than the little white bench, this big, large white wall. And on the other side of the white wall was a toilet. There was no sink, nothing. It was just a toilet. And then the door. So I hopped up on top of the wall and sat up there, and I was trying to take out the sprinkler to make the alarm go off or something. And they saw me in the camera, and they all come barging in trying to drag me down, bro. They like, yeah, ah! I'm like, man, nah. I'm kicking them. I'm like, man, get off me. Da, da. And I'm telling you, when I tell y'all, they held me down. They held me down so bad that like my pants were off. Like I was kicking that hard, my pants was off. And they came in with this big chair, put me in a straitjacket. I had no pants on. They put me in a straitjacket and said, the judge wants to talk to you. So I was like, all right, bet. All right, bet. I'm like, sure, I'm crying, but I'm like tripping. And they wheel me upstairs, but they have me in a wheel, like in a wheelie on 2 wheels instead of 4. They had me lean back with a straitjacket on and my underwear and told me to put my pants over my area. So why not just put my pants on? Whatever. Took me up there to the courthouse and said, hey, welcome back. Just want to let you know that I wasn't going to send you to jail. I just wanted to talk with them for a moment and then get back to you. But they said you were down there screaming out to the devil and saying that you wanted to put a curse on us. I said, no, the fuck I didn't. I said, I listened. I just listened. But in my mind, I'm like, it's not what I said, but okay. I said, Your Honor, I said, listen, I'm shaking and crying. I said, sir, I said, thank you for seeing me today. I'm sorry for coming out of character. And he said, yeah, because that was something I've never seen from you before. Yeah, dumbass. I never did that before. As a matter of fact, I didn't even do it in y'all face. Y'all saw it down when I was in the cell, in the camera, watching me flip out. Because you telling me I can't have my son. What else you expect me to do? And he said, well, just to let you know, we're going to go ahead and send you to an institute because we feel like your mental health is way more important right now. So they wheeled me out into a police car. The police car took me to the hospital. And the hospital said, you're not coming out of here until you take a COVID test. And I've never took one. And I was scared to because I felt like everyone who took one was dying. I don't know. And I was like, what? I said, I'm not taking that COVID test. They said, well, you're staying here until you do. Now I'm handcuffed to the bed. Mind you, my grandmother just passed. My grandmother just passed the same year, like a month ago. July, August. My grandma's birthday was in August. She passed in July. Her birthday was in August. I got locked up in August. August 15th to be exact. It was crazy. Well, anyway, at that moment, I do remember that I heard like this machine that was going off was for respiratory for those who can't breathe. And I started having a panic attack because my grandmother had one of those before she passed. And that sound made me think of her and it made me cry. And they were like, oh my God, something's wrong with her. I'm just freaking out. Like, that's a lot going on in my life. And they asked me questions, therapists coming in, and they was just like, ma'am, take this COVID test so we can get you right. So we can get you out of here. You don't seem like anything's wrong with you. You're just going through a hard time. I'm like, thank you. Fuck. And I took that damn COVID test, bro. I was negative, thank God. And they took me all the way to the behavioral health center. 3 hours away. I think it was 2 hours away. 2 hours and 30 minutes away. And when I tell you, when I got there, I was scared as shit because I still had to come out of my clothes, put it in a bag, and I had to put on what they gave me. And then after that, I was given clothes. Like I think someone, was I given clothes? I think I was wearing the same thing every day. I can't remember. I think they gave me clothes. I can't remember what happened, but all I know is when I was there for 7 consecutive days. Unfortunately, all of those days are involuntarily. I can't leave even if I wanted to. And every day I had to take a test to see if I was still capable to go out or stay. And it sucked because there was people in there who really were crazy. Like kids were crazy. I saw kids that were crazy, running around tripping and shit, tripping. I seen adults that were pregnant. She came in pregnant and she was like, she was about to hurt herself. And she was like 8 months pregnant, walking in like, it just looked so sad. Like, it was bad. And I just thank God that my situation wasn't like hers. But as I'm there, I'm trying to, I was like the light of the show. Everybody liked me. Everybody wanted to talk to me. Everybody was like, every time it was my turn to speak, they were all like locked in. I'm like, okay. It was like, so what do you feel about that? And I'm like, it was like, good one. Yeah. All right. So I will get the phone calls. I'm calling, I'm talking, and then, I'm talking. And then finally, the final day. Now, mind you, my child. So for these 7 days, I was not held for court for jail. I just came out and I said, I can't do this anymore. Like, I literally said, I have to let my child go. I have to wait for my child to come to me, because me trying to go to him obviously it's not working out. I'm here because of me trying to be there for him. That's it. Not your fault, my son. It's not your fault at all. It never was. Ever. All of this was because I was trying to escape G. And then me escaping G led to me being in a very bad living situation, because I was doing everything by myself and trying to take care of our son, all of that. And then turn around to having the worst times, just terrible times. And then, life started moving on. I met somebody and boom, got pregnant the first time I had sex. Boom, now I have a baby because I don't believe in abortions. So I'm walking around with a baby and trying to take care of this one when I'm already messed up over here. Like, I was being young, dumb, and stupid. I'm just being clear. Does not mean I was an unfit parent. I was just not ready for responsibilities of not going out anymore. Like, I was only 21. I was young as hell. Like, so anyways, I just want to say that was considered jail time to me, because I was not allowed to leave. The food was amazing. The food, we had breakfast, lunch, and dinner. I'm talking about, it was so good. And that's how they get you, because they make it so comfortable. It was so good. I learned how to play the card game Casino. This lady was in there teaching me. I'll never forget this one lady who, I met, and I was talking to her. She was Hispanic. She barely knew a lot of English, but she understood what I was saying. And she was just like, I love you. When you come out, call me. And I had like word search books. I was tapped in reading. I was doing puzzles. Like, I didn't care about TV. I didn't care to watch none of that. And it just really sucked that when it's time to walk down the halls, you got to walk in a single line. You got to, and I didn't smoke cigarettes, but they was like, anybody ready to come outside and smoke a cigarette? Shoot, I was out there. I just wanted some air, because it was so cold in there. I just wanted some fresh, hot something. And I'll never forget, the day it was time for me to leave, I was ready. And it took forever. I'm sitting there like waiting and waiting and waiting. I'm like, bro, just come on. They finally called me up and they was asking me, how are you feeling today? Do you want to hurt yourself? Do you? And I said, no, I'm good. Oh, yeah, I don't even know why you're here. Me either. Okay. Came out of there. I came out that motherfucker different. I came out of there different. But it sucks, because now that has ever happened to me, I am labeled in the system for the rest of my life as a spazzer. 1013. So if anytime somebody look me up in the system, a police officer or something like that, and they see that I have been a 1013, or the hospitals 1013, they're going to be careful with me. They're going to ask, am I okay today? Did you are you planning on hurting yourself? They're going to start being therapeutic. And that sucks, because all of that energy was because I just wanted my son so bad. That's my jail time. Unfortunately, everybody has been to jail that I know of right now that says that, man, I hated that. I hated it. But they deserved it. Unfortunately, you do something to actually do it and go to jail, and you're like, oh, man, you deserved it, though. That's your consequence. It's your karma. It's okay. Like, I'm not like saying that everything, I'm not saying it to say like judging you, but I'm just saying I went to jail every time. Well, okay. Those 2 times, because I didn't snitch, which still has nothing to do with me, because it had nothing to do with me. That's why I didn't snitch. It's none of my business. And then the second one was not knowing that I could get locked up for no insurance. That was crazy because I was getting locked up for not having insurance first until they searched me. And then they didn't charge me for that. They charged me for not having insurance. So that wasn't the case. It was the fact that they let that slide because I confessed. But they said it would have been worse for you if I would have caught it and I would have had 2 charges. So I didn't. Then the third time just goes to show you that the government, and I don't care. Y'all can go ahead and keep doing what y'all don't like me anyway. I don't like you either. So this is just to say that I just don't trust the government. I don't trust what the word has to say. I can't change my judge. My judge is my judge for the rest of my life in this case, and I hate it. There's nothing I can do about it unless he decides, oh, you know what? I'm retired. And I'm stuck with him. So my jail time just wasn't all that great. And I just want to let y'all know that please stay away from jail. Do not sell drugs. If you sell drugs, you're going to end up in jail. If you decide you want to get karma on somebody, let God handle that. Because any revenge or karma, it always has a consequences on a physical person. Whether it's mental consequences or actual consequences to you. You know, all of those decisions I made were based on the fact that I wanted to, be a writer. Women, men, hey, don't ride for nobody, bro. Do not ride for nobody. And you don't got to snitch to not ride either. You could just don't be involved. Again, pick and choose who you hang with. You surround yourself around the right people. Sorry, my neck and my back a little bit. When I started crying, it started to hurt. Well, holding in my cry was making my neck hurt. But thank you for listening. Thank you for listening to my topic today, which is jail time. Jail time was pretty much talking about my experiences. And I also want to influence others that it's not good to just be trying to ride, bro. Don't ride. You be the driver. And if you're not the driver, then make sure you know who the driver is. Otherwise, you'll be that passenger sitting right there with me 3 times. Because if I would have known that me telling her to stop cutting me off was going to piss the judge off to tell the officer to come get me, I would have never did that. I would have never cut her off. But somehow, some way, she gets some type of, I don't know. And I don't even care. Like, I just care about my son at the end of the day. I love you, Darion Damani Clark. I named you because you are me and I'm you. God made us to have you. And I love you to death, however you are right now. And happy belated, not belated. Well, yeah, belated. Happy belated and happy early birthday. I love you so much, my son. And I will be making a podcast about you too, so that when you get older, you will see, just in case something ever happens to me, that I have always, 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 always been here. Always thought about you. Always loved you. Always. Never stopped. I still do. Never. Your daughter, my daughter, your sister cries because she wants to see you too. And she's only met you twice in her life. But guess what I do? Come across videos, show her, pictures, show her, anything about you. I make sure she sees it too. Meanwhile, you're being told otherwise. Everybody makes mistakes, but one thing I didn't do was make a mistake by allowing your father, Darion. One mistake I didn't do was allowing your father to take care of you when I was going through it. Because if I'm going through it, I can't take care of a child. It's unfit. It's best to give that child to the other parent if they're not together, or my mom, which I should have done, or I could have had you struggling with me and we would have been on the street together. We would have been, I don't know. But it wasn't as easy as a child would see it. Until you're in the struggle and an adult, you don't know until you are there. Straight up. And I can sit here right now and say that the next podcast I do about my baby is the God honest truth. I will not leave a detail out. I remember everything, like the back of my damn earring lobe. Everything like the front of my earring lobe. I know it to the T. And I'm going to do my best not to go all over the world. I'm going to try to stay on time, on track, and let you know from here, what happened and why, and who, what, where. I won't be able to say no names because just in case someone tries to come for me, This is what it is. But I'm going to only say your name, my son, because you're the only person right now on this video other than me. Because I matter. You matter. Everybody else's name doesn't matter. So, I love you. I love you. And I also want everybody to know who's watching. Thank you for staying tuned with me. I just wanted to share my stories, influence others to not make any same mistakes, and realize that it's not worth it to just try to be there and ride or die. No, it's really not. If you know a man that has drugs on him and he tried to get in your car, no ma'am. You don't got to be that cool to be like, oh, it's okay. No, no. You can't get in my car. Or if anything, leave that and then get in my car. Don't let anybody make you do something that you don't want to do. Straight up. If you do not want to get in the car with somebody because something in your brain is like, this is a bad idea, don't do it. Or you will realize why it was a bad idea. Even if you don't think it was. But because it looks like one and it's going to be police involved, obviously it was a bad idea. Stick with your gut, please.